Good evening, all.
Good evening, Kiran.
Good evening.
Ashwini, I'm feeling jealous.
Why?
You are not wearing any woolens. We are loaded with the layers.
That's why. Nashik, it is not that much cool. I guess it's 14 or 15 today, so not that much. But we want your climate to be here. We are waiting for it.
Please take it. Come, we are going to give
Grass,
you a luggage
the
full of
grass
it.
is always green on the other side, Ashwini and Kiran.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Secondly, Kiran, तुम तुम्हारा
Yes, sir.
उम्र का तो समझो. तुम
हमारी उम्र का, sir. Sir, उम्र
अश्विनी
is
से
just a
आधी उम्र
number.
की हो तुम.
Sir, age is just a number.
तभी तो कह रहे हैं अश्विनी से आधी उम्र की हो तुम.
Oh, yes. मैं
हम
अभी
ये नहीं बोले अधेड़ उम्र, हम बोले आधी उम्र.
Actually, sir, I'm just 21. Ashwini, I'm not guessing your age.
Okay, fine.
Let's
I
not
didn't say
talk
60.
about the age.
Shilpa, age is just a number.
Yes. We all need to be young at heart.
We are in such a profession, we can never get old.
Yes.
With the mainstream of the society.
पता नहीं, हम तो भैया old हैं. I have no issues in saying that I am old and I love my age.
And इसीलिए सर का रोज वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड भी थोड़ा चेंज हो जाता है. Change is the spice of life.
Absolutely.
He adds spices.
ज्यादा मिर्ची हो गई है आज.
That only you and I can understand, sir.
Yes, Kiran.
Maybe Neeta. Neeta is there? No. She isn't.
चलिए, I think we are 1 minute to go. Ashwini,
Yes.
you will have to tell me how many numbers we expect so that we can begin.
I am expecting more than 100. It's just 30.
Okay, then I guess we'll wait for another 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
ठीक है, ठीक है.
Pratima ma'am, एक बार कैमरा खोलिए अपना. Ashwini will have a whiff of our weather conditions. I just saw. Yes.
Oh my God.
What is the temperature today, ma'am?
Good evening, all of you.
I haven't checked.
अश्विनी, मेरा भी कैमरा खुला है, मैं एक शर्ट में ही बैठा हूँ, देख लो.
सर मान के रहेंगे कि वो अभी वो 18 years के ही हैं.
So, ma'am, देखो अभी आप ही.
बस.
Age is just a number.
I am 2 years older. 20.
Good evening, Shahnaz ma'am. Vaibhav ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, ma'am.
So I guess till others join, I'll just read out the ground rules and then we'll start it.
Yes, yes.
Will do, sir? Okay, I'll just read out the ground rules for everyone. Be attentive throughout the session. If possible, keep your cameras on. At the end of the session, you'll be asked a couple of questions through a feedback form. You'll have to answer those and share it with me. Credits will be given on the basis of feedback form. Asking questions using Q&A will be appreciated. You can ask anonymously or by your name. Read of names will be used to give a star and a wish. And yes, this session is not compulsory for everyone. If you have any issues, you can mail out to me, keeping your principal in CC. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Mukesh, sir.
Welcome to the 85th episode of CCF. We've traveled really, really far from the days of COVID. 85 episodes is not an easy thing to achieve. And I think we really need to celebrate the fact that we are still going with the same enthusiasm. I can see a few more joining in, but I think we will respect all those who have already joined. Shilpa, the Vice Principal of DPS Nashik, will make a presentation on, I think, question answers, how to get children to not copy answers, but kind of work on their own and have creative answers. I think a very basic need, especially for the primary and in the junior wings, children do have this habit of copying answers. So I think you've been very thoughtful, Shilpa, and taken up a beautiful topic.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you. And we will, as Ashwini said, try and follow all the ground rules, especially with regard to questions. Because, only when you ask a question do we understand that you have understood things. Because I always believe that if you have no questions, then all is clear. All right. So let's get to questioning, definitely. And let's have questions. Let's not give in our opinions. I think a lot of us these days, want to share our opinion rather than ask a question. So do share a question. And if people don't have any questions, and then you wish to share an opinion or make a comment, then you definitely can have the chance. But I think first we should give time to all the Socrates followers in the group. Over to you, Shilpa.
Yes, thank you, sir. Ashwini, can you just share the first slide? So we begin. So this is the topic for today, like how can we find answers to our questions? And what I have done, I have made an attempt that at least because I have the time restriction. So what I have done, at least I would like to give you few strategies, what would really help you to get going into your classrooms, so that it's more about the child's thought, his expression that comes in, rather than they just copying things from the blackboard. So I think the first thing we do is we begin with mindfulness. Next slide, please. Everybody close your eyes.
Jane, ma'am.
Ajay, could you mute yourself better?
Hello.
Ajay, can you mute yourself? Their mindfulness is going on.
Sure, sir, sure.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, ma'am. Should I present the next slide?
Yes. So thank you, everyone. I think the pre-questionnaire you all filled out really helped me get these burning questions. And I want you to quickly get into, actually see what were the burning questions that arose from all the pre-questionnaires that were filled. So how to encourage reading habits in students? How do students write correct error-free answers? How to encourage students to independent thinking and writing? How do we encourage students to write answers on their own? How do we improve student writing skills? Next slide, please. How to encourage students frame questions, how to develop comprehension skills in students, how to increase the speed of writing, how to develop critical thinking in students, how to deal with students struggling with the English language. I think all these questions. So what did I do from the data I received was I actually put in your concerns, okay? The strategy is what you expected and the questions you had. And so based on whatever was done, I received these burning questions. And I'm glad that we all teachers are concerned about the process, because it is we who are designing the process for child's learning. Okay, so what I have done is I will be looking at 3 processes. That is, one is about developing reading and comprehension. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, strategies for reading and comprehending. So this is the question what we talk about, or when we talk about developing reading skills, comprehension is actually a big issue we face in the classroom. And for that, we need to understand that we need to teach reading strategies to the students. So we cannot leave it to them. Like when we talk about reading and comprehension, it is not just reading a lesson or a passage and students answering the questions. I think that is, we have come to this conclusion. But when we look at reading and comprehending, we have to teach the students how to read. So in that, like I have mentioned, like we need to model how we what kind of strategies we are going to use, explain them, guide them, have practice, provide feedback. Now few strategies what I have listed is like how we are going to self monitor, visualization in the classroom, summarizing meaning, rereading, questioning, making connections. To me, I think making connections is one of the most important strategy while reading and then comprehending, because we have to provide children opportunity to make connections. So when I'm reading a paragraph, I should be able to connect. One is connect the text to myself, connect the text to the outside world, connect the text what I'm reading to the another text I'm reading. So all these strategies what we do is we have to model and practice it in the classroom, and we have to actually tell the child the purpose. When we are taking up few activities in the classroom or using strategies in the class, the child must be able to understand why that particular strategy is being used in the classroom, because the strategy what he will use is going to stay along with him for a lifelong time. Now, so to help you, what I have done is I have created a resource on Drive. Okay, I'm just going to paste it in the chat box. And there what I have done is I have shared few graphic organizers. I'll just present my screen. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
So there are different graphic organizers which you can use in the classroom. Sorry, this went to thinking routines. Just let me go to the read. So there are different strategies actually which can be used in the class, like sequencing, making connection, make a prediction, mapping a story, analyzing the text, retell, reread, ask a question, visualize, reflect in writing. And these all are the strategies, graphic organizers you can use when your children are actually reading, and then they read the text and then they put in the information what they read into the graphic organizer. So when they are doing this, what they are doing is actually they are structuring their thought process. So these are the different graphic organizers you could use. One of the strategy what I always used, okay, in my classroom was with reading. Generally, when the child is reading the text, I always ask the students to read and write questions. So whenever they always had the pencil in their hand, and when they are reading the text, they just formulate questions. So that is one of the strategy which really helps well, because the child is then continuously thinking about it. Also, analyzing the text is also one of the important strategy which they use while comprehending. So so you can actually, you are free to use these different strategies in your class. Also, I would go to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide, Ashwini? Yes. So there is a lot of concern about writing. Okay. So as we know, reading and writing goes hand in hand. When we look at the language or literary skills, we always say that it is listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. Okay. So but to me, reading and writing goes hand in hand. So one strategy useful for writing is use of graphic organizers. For example, whenever we want the students to do a creative writing task, okay, we want them that they are aware about the writing process. It is important that we introduce and actually teach the writing process to them. So what is the writing process? It is about pre-write, draft, revise, edit, and publish. So the students actually have to go through the entire process, and they must know at what stage of writing process they are in. So it has to be very clear to them. It cannot be that we ask them to write an essay and they are writing. Okay. So when I'm talking about how will we use the graphic organizer here, we need to give them opportunity to generate ideas before they begin writing. So we can use a graphic organizer again. So it depends on what kind of essay or creative writing they are doing, because it will vary. We have different graphic organizers for each piece of work. So if they are going to write a story, we have the story map. If they are going to do a persuasive writing, they are going to have a different structure. If they are going to do a simple descriptive paragraph, again there is going to be a different structure. So the structure needs to be taught to the child, what I think, because then we are developing proper writing skills. It is not about just giving a task to the child about writing. Now when I'm talking about generating ideas before they begin writing is, many a times we just give the task to them and we expect that the task has to be completed at the same time. but we, in order to get all the student ideas or their thought process on paper, it is important that we give them some time to put in all their ideas and then elaborate these ideas. So it cannot be a direct task about, come on now, write on maybe say a rainy day. Because for a child to actually pen down all his thoughts and ideas about a rainy day, we need to give him time, because he is going to gather all the experiences about that topic. He's going to connect all his experiences and then put down ideas and then elaborate. So see, initially it's going to be difficult. We are going to require time. I understand we need to forget the examination hall, that examination hall, so he is going to get only 2 hours or 3 hours. So for now, let's forget the examination hall and the exam. We all are here. We all are passionate educators, and we want to develop skills among our students. So on a long run, when we are thinking, it is our focus has to be on the development of skills and not just completing the task. Okay, so I think we need to move away from that, and I really am happy that actually when the kind of questions you all have asked is, you all are concerned about how are we going to develop skills in the children, because we are asking, all the questions that came in were how. So I think that's more important. Again, teaching how to generate ideas using mind maps and web diagrams. So again, when I go to my resource folder, if you go to the resource folder, you will be able to see actually, somebody can press 1 minute. I'll just
Should I present that back now? Same link, right?
Yeah. No, I'll 1 minute. Project Write graphic organizers. When you go to the Project Write graphic organizers, you can actually see that every graphic organizer is different. For newspaper article, expository essay, expository writing, paragraph guide, that is how to write a paragraph, expository writing organizer, main idea map, finding main ideas. So there are actually 21 pages, I think. Yeah, so you can actually go through these different structures and explore them in your classrooms. Now, this was for English, okay? Now, science teachers might think that how are we going to do it, okay? So basically, when we talk about writing with sciences, our focus has to be more on observation and the inference. So how are our children observant, and how are they noting down the observations? And how are they inferring? So I think even the same strategy what a language teacher could apply in the class is, even when they are reading something, what do they infer? Because we all are developing these skills. So like, what do you infer maybe from the paragraph, or what? So it is about what kind of questions we are asking them. So Ashwini, can we go to the next slide? Yes. So talking about, so there was this question about how do we develop critical thinking in students, or how, yes, Anuja?
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. If at all you start getting questions, you can keep posting in the chat box. Okay. Yes. So when I'm talking about strategies for developing critical thinking, we also had a question about how will my children ask critical questions? How will my children be critical in their writing work? So when we are talking about critical developing critical thinking, one is we teachers need to ask open-ended questions. Now, what are open-ended questions? Open-ended questions where there is no one answer. So, did you eat your tiffin today? It has only a yes or no. So we don't want to ask this kind of question, but we would like to know that what did you eat during the day? So then the child might talk about what he ate, he might think about what he is going to eat tonight, and so on. So there is more scope for the thought process. So, what kind of questions we teachers ask is also very important. We always need to think on asking, always go for asking open ended questions. Give opportunities to students to ask questions. How much are we giving? So I know we all must be doing that, okay? Because developing curiosity and developing a inquiry mindset is one of our goal as school. But how many opportunities are we giving them during the day must be thought of. So, like, do we have a wonder wall in the class? Do we have are we using different strategies in the classroom where children are coming up with their questions? Now, to again, when I'm talking about giving opportunities to students to ask question is, are we developing provocations, or do we have provocations in planned provocations in our classroom, or is it only a task that is assigned? Because we want students to explore, and when we are also giving them a chance to explore, maybe through our strategies, are we patient with during their exploration, or are we anxious about they getting answers? I think we need to think about it. Many a times it so happens that we do give them we plan an opportunity for exploration, but we are so eager and anxious about getting the answer from the student that somewhere we do not wait time. And I'm not just blaming you all, even I as a teacher, it does happen to everybody of us that it has to happen quick. The child must quickly do it. So I think that one of the thing we really need to reflect on, increased student talk time versus teacher talk time. How much are we talking in the classroom, and how much are our students talking? We must reflect on this, because many a times all the explanation we think that when the child is reading he will not understand, he will not be able to comprehend. But fine, he might not comprehend the entire text, but it is important that before we begin our explanation, we get all the questions from the students, what we know what the child has understood through his reading. We need to allow that time for the child to actually independently think, understand, explain what he has got from the text, what he has comprehended from the text, what kind of questions he has now from the text, and then move to the next process. So one of the strategy immediately what we could use is, rather than explaining any topic, we just ask them to read independently. They have their questions ready on the text. We can just quickly in a class, maybe different strategies you could use, where you could may have smaller groups, larger group. First, in small groups, they could share what they have comprehended, and then it is shared in a big group, and then we as teachers summarize the entire thing. So when I'm talking about summarizing the entire thing, is we first take up the points that are comprehended by the students, and then whatever is missed could be added by the teacher. Or rather than directly even adding those points, we could frame questions. We have to have questions with us, set of questions, where we know that these points are missed by the students, so that their thinking or thought process is further provoked, is one of the strategy we could use in the classroom. And when we are using this kind of strategy, it is but natural that the student time, talk time will increase in the classroom, and there the teacher talk time will be reduced. So I think that should be one of our focus, where how are we going to increase more student talk time versus a teacher talk time. Yes. Next slide. Okay. So before we go to exit ticket, because I was very quick, I know, because I wanted to give more time for your questions. So 3 things what I shared today was strategies for reading and comprehending, strategies for writing, and strategies that will develop critical thinking in our students. What is the difference between skimming and scanning? Yes. So skimming and scanning, like these are set of library skills, okay, which actually we must teach our students. So when we are talking about skimming and scanning, one is the child goes, so if we give him some text, okay, when the child is actually looking at the title of the book, maybe, or a book which he has, we have behind the book, we have a short paragraph maybe written about the book. So when they are reading, actually skimming through the title and behind the book, whatever is written, can they identify what would be the content? And scanning is actually they quickly, we give them some time, maybe a limited time period, where the child has to immediately go through the text, okay, skim through, what we are calling him, scan through the text and note down his points. So maybe it's going to be like, I do rocket writing in the classroom. So if I have to get a definition of a scientific topic, science, okay, for example, if I'm going to ask them to say about what is energy, so before teaching the chapter on energy or explaining them what is energy, I'm just going to say, so let's have a rocket writing. So write what you think about energy and then begin the classroom. So similarly, skimming and scanning are the library skill sets or the reading skill sets the child must be taught through the library activities. I don't know whether Amrudha is, yes, these are also used in reading comprehension. Yes, sir. So this has to be done quickly. So we give them limited time, and then the children actually note down the points what they have read through, and then share it in the class, because every child, when they are going to do skimming and scanning, they will be able to connect with their experience, and that is what they will see. You can try this strategy and it works differently with different students. And again, as we know that children are at different level of reading skills, so when they actually do the group sharing, they are learning from each other. We also need to understand that it's not the students always learn from the teacher, but they learn a lot from their peers. So like I think whatever the buddy classrooms we have, it is more about developing this habit of peer learning, but I think it has to be more into the classrooms also. Yes, sir.
Shilpa, I would just like to add and build on what you said about skimming and scanning.
Yes, sir.
The difference, of course, is in the fact that for skimming, in case I am answering a comprehension passage, the first thing I do is skim through the passage. It's not a quick one. It is a general reading. And then when I look at the comprehension questions to be asked and I have to find answers, with my first stage of skimming, I have an idea that for this particular question, the information or the answer or the date or the name of the character is in a particular paragraph. And that is when I scan for the answer. So that is the difference between skimming and scanning.
Yes.
And these are more than library skills. I think this must be taught to children in the class from the beginning on how to do that. So the same passage can be used for both skimming as well as scanning. Maybe we can do a different session, maybe 15-20 minute session on this with evidence-based work. Because once we do teach skimming and scanning, this is how we went and learned this, In our days, we didn't have all these fancy strategies that we are talking about today. But we are able to read definitely, better than what our children read today. The reason is because we've grown up on reading, unlike the distractions that the children have today. But skimming and scanning are very, very basic skills to teaching reading.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I think language teachers could also share few of the strategies they are using in the classroom. Yes, Nagarani?
Ma'am, there's a book called How to Start Reading. The skimming and scanning is given a lot of importance there. And then when we scan, suppose if I have to prepare for a presentation, in that I will go through the index of a lot of books. So that's called as the scanning in general. When you start reading a book, when I started reading a book, when I wanted to develop this habit, I first read a book called as How to Read a Book. So in that particular book also, all the strategies are given. There are more strategies like timely reading. You give them a 30 seconds and then you ask them to read a particular passage and then in further questions over those. So skimming and scanning are actually what sir said is a very broad aspect, and we could just there's a book, in fact, the entire book, How to Read a Book, the name of the book itself. So that's how we can develop these habits.
Thank you, Nagrani. Yes. Any questions on reading? Also, one more thing, what I would like to make a point, sir, actually, I can see there is a lot of misconception that when we are using group task, actually, when we talk about giving planning more activities and strategies in the classroom, somewhere I think read aloud is completely lost, There is no read aloud happening where I think if in our classrooms, when we were learning, read aloud was one of the things what we did, because the students must know the pronunciations, how to read with proper intonation, which is missed out in the classroom, what I can see right now. Language teachers, please, can you talk about it, how we could do in the classrooms? And is it only for language?
Good evening,
Because
ma'am. Am I audible?
as a science, yes,
Am
yes,
I audible?
yes, yes.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Vibhuti and I'm from DPS Varanasi, ma'am. I do a lot of popcorn reading at times in my class, and my children seem to enjoy that a lot. What I actually do is while reading something, I tell them that whoever finds a error in the pronunciation of someone else, you will speak out that one word aloud, just that one word. So for example, if I pronounce exit wrong, so everybody in the class will shout out, who knows the correct pronunciation, shout out the word exit. And the child who has mispronounced it, or has missed a word in reading, goes back and reads it correctly. So that way, the children have fun. And sometimes when one person has read a long time and then has an error, so the child who catches gets to read.
Yeah, thank you, Vibhuti. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, let me add on what reading loud that you talked about, Shilpa.
Yes, sir.
In the olden days, of course, because we didn't have too much of technology, our teachers in convents did ask us to read aloud. What would happen is, one 40-minute class would perhaps go waste because just 2 or 3 people would get to read. And hardly anybody would learn. So since we did have a lot of teachers who had almost the received pronunciation, we've learned the way we listen to teachers. So as a teacher, when I started teaching in classes 6, 7, and 8 in my first years as a teacher, I used a lot of these cassette players. I would take the cassette player to class, and we would have recorded BBC News. We would record them over from the All India Radio and have it. And so through listening skills, we were able to teach them how to pronounce the text, the tenor, the accent, and the intonation that, So if we could use a lot of these now, we have these beautiful, text these days, which are in the audio or in the video form. So we see, as a school, we don't do listening skills at all.
Yes.
In our language classes or our literature classes, there's hardly any listening skill done. And then at the end of the day, we all have complained children don't listen to us. So it is very important for us to do listening skills through use of technology.
Yes,
Once
sir.
they listen, they will get the correct pronunciation, the intonation, and of course there will be the L1 interference, the language one or the mother tongue interference definitely will happen based on their geographical locations that they come from. But we definitely don't want the received pronunciation anymore, right?
Yes.
We don't want the RP, as they would call it in Britain. We would basically want a very neutral. Even now the IELTS and the other tests also insist on a neutral pronunciation today. So we do want to do listening skills when we are discussing language and reading. I think we should perhaps first start, and that is why LSRW are the sequence in which we need to do. So I think if language teachers, especially in the primary years and even up to class 5, focus on a lot of listening skills, I'm sure children will not only love to read, but they will also kind of learn the correct pronunciations, intonation, and the tenor and tone.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yes, any questions? Any questions on writing?
Okay, since there are no questions on writing and I'd love to hear my voice, I'm going to say something more
Yes, sir.
on writing. Again, in the initial years, we expect people to just start writing. Writing also is a skill that can be taught very, very skillfully, very interestingly. What we could do is perhaps on a day before, like a pre-reading or a pre-teaching activity, we could give it to the children on the topic that we are going to be teaching writing. For instance, if it's a paragraph writing, let's say simple on cow. This is my favorite. I know all my English teachers will say that, an essay on the cow can be written by a standard 5 or a 6 child as well as a PhD scholar. And you will see the difference in, thought process. It's a very beautiful topic and subject for me. So if it's the cow, we would, depending on the level of the child, we would say, go ahead and read about a cow or talk about it at home. Find out if it's basic in the primary classes, even just look at the picture of different kinds of cows, different species or different breeds, I would say, and across the world, let's say, because now we have this facility for children to do that. And then they come back and we give them a set of words, which is a ready-made vocabulary. For instance, for one particular description, if you give them 4 or 5 adjectives and let them choose later on to, and then brainstorm, discuss it, use a spider graph in the class, and put up the different points. So if it's a higher class, then definitely the physical attributes of the cow will come lesser and the uses of the cow would perhaps. So depending on the level of your class, you kind of work on, and giving them a nice vocabulary bank for every topic would help them very easily, write that. And it'll be easy for you also, as a teacher, when you have to have corrections done, you will have lesser mistakes in terms of, grammar and words and things like that. So this is something that you could do. The other thing today we have is beautiful, these diary entries.
Yes.
We use the same comprehension or the literature text instead of getting a different topic for an essay writing, which we normally, attempted to do. If for practices, this is for the beginning, use the same text and say, listen, you've read it. Iske upar se, you will have to write about either an incident or the character or create a conversation between the two characters. So that depends on the text and how imaginatively you will be able to give some creative assessment or assignments for assessment at a later date. So this is something that, it comes to when it comes to writing. These are the basics that we did when we were teachers in school.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Prajakta is asking a question. How do we handle this issue? Because the students are dragging themselves to write. Okay. Prajakta, it is like, how are we going to make it interesting is the thing we need to work on. So it is about, I do understand that students do not want to write today, nor do they want to read. Because today we teachers have concern about the child is not even reading a textbook. The fact is, we need to understand that today in market, they have everything, the digest that is available. So they want everything easy. They do not want to read, but rather just mug up, go through the digest, mug up the question answers and produce it in the exam. So I think when we change our focus, when we get into the, get our focus to the development of actually skills and not showing them the focus of scoring marks and writing papers. So this has to be done in the primary years. I do understand we have the child with us for many years from the pre-primary grade 8. I think all these writing skills and reading skills must be developed so that the child becomes independent in grade 9. Right? Am I right, Jayashree? Jayashree had a smile.
Yes, ma'am.
Shilpa is asking me. Prajakta, could you give me a focused point on which level of children don't like to write? Because there are several reasons why children don't like to write. So I can give you a focused answer.
Yes, sir. Actually, the middle school, I must say middle school, and a bit of maybe what I have observed is 8th and 9th, aisa, thoda 6 to 9. Aisa.
Okay, great.
Not all,
Now,
of course, there's few. Yeah.
Yeah. You will have, all differences in the classes. Okay. Now, basically, the reason why children don't wish to write anymore is because they are naturally built like that. So, okay, aajkal ki software mein, once we have the tech, they don't need to write also so much, yes. Right? Even today, I mean, as a head, I've been working. All that we need to do is we do a lot of typing. So we don't write, number one. Children are all the time on their, chatting or through their mobile. And therefore, this grip is not there any longer. The other reason could be in some children I've noticed is, it starts paining when they write. Now, what could have happened? You need to go back, to their early days where perhaps they went to a school where in LKG they first started getting the children to write. क्योंकि इंडिया में ये सबसे एक मेंटालिटी है कि अगर बच्चा लिखना नहीं सीखता है तो वो स्कूल में कुछ नहीं सीख के आया है, right? So when the pincer grip is not developed, when the muscle is not there, and early years में जब उनको force करते हैं लिखने के लिए, so there is a reason why at that point of time, children develop a pain and a later date, because when there is a distaste at the early age, फिर आपको बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आएगा, आगे भी लिखने का.
Yes.
Third thing is you need to tell them that, listen, you need to convince them, when you want them to write, you say this is a must for a certain reason, and give them those reasons, and they will gradually, you will get them to buy in the fact that they have to write. Get them to write short. Those children who are not very fond of writing too much, कि चलो आज तुम 5 लाइन लिखो, कल 10 लाइन लिखो. Gradually, you'll have weaned them into writing and away from, the chatting there.
Yes. Yeah, Prajakta, is it answered?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Okay, how can we give positive feedback on students' writing skill, especially in primary years? I think we already are giving. So can few of you share how are you giving the feedback to the child on his writing? How are we going to encourage students to write in the primary?
If I may, Shilpa, I think I know Archana well because she happens to come from my location.
Okay.
Archana, would you want to say that how to get children to get positive remarks when they are writing or on their writing? This is what...
On their writing, because sir, what happens when they write their answers on their own? So many a times they make mistakes. So we want them to, get a feedback like, yeah, next time it will be much better. So
All right.
like
This is a favorite answer of mine.
Okay.
Thank you for answering a very favorite question. I as a student used to make a lot of spelling errors. जब initially हम लोग सीख रहे थे, my English was not good at all till class 8. I was very, very bad because we spoke a lot of Tamil, Gujarati and other languages at home. English reading मेरा नहीं था. But I had a very inspiring English teacher who, when she read my entire essay, there were a lot of spelling errors. So she told me, listen, there are lots of things that you need to improve on. But first you work on your spelling. And once I did, I would write and get back. Then she would say, wow, you've not made a single spelling error, but your grammar now needs to improve. So gradually, एक positive reinforcement देने के बाद, you highlight the other aspect of the child. And maybe you will be able to give them that kind of positive reinforcements on writing. Apart from that, children who've written on their own, vis-a-vis children who've just copied maybe, हम लोग सिखाते भी हैं इसी तरह. I think at least our generation, the teachers are also like that. We were also to blame. हम लोग बोलते थे कि अरे देखो बुक में ही आंसर, क्वेश्चन में ही जवाब मिलता है, तुम यहाँ से यहाँ कॉपी करके लिख देना. So we do that. So we train children also actually to copy. We shouldn't be doing that. But I'm sure we have a lot of parents, my generation kinds, or grandparents who kind of interfere with education at home, and they perhaps would be teaching the children to do the same thing. So when you have a different child or with a different answer than what you have dictated or given in the class, then appreciate that and say, listen, he may have made, 1 or 2 errors, whereas you guys have not made any errors, but I appreciate him for his originality, for his daring to write on his own. And if that kind of celebration can be done, I think children will be very, very happy to write on their own then.
Yeah, something I would like to add, sir. I think if we as teachers give the child the criteria beforehand, that what am I going to assess you on? Because maybe in that writing, I'm going to just look for creative ideas the child has penned down. Then I would first appreciate his ideas and then ask him to work on spellings, or then ask him to work on the sentence structure, what he has used, in his when writing, because otherwise what happens generally with language, because I would like to share my experience in during my schooling. It was like whatever was written, the teacher had this habit of just underlining with a red pen. Okay, so when that went on or passed to me as a student, it was like I went into that inferiority complex that I will not be able to do anything with language and I'm very poor at it. But then the next year, I had a very motivating teacher who actually changed my entire perspective about language, and I started writing. So I think it is about how we teachers also are going to motivate our students on writing skills. How are we going to actually, as sir mentioned, reinforce? So we give positive remarks on what the child has done, and then also give him like how on the how show him the areas where the child needs to improve on or work on.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Any other question? I think with reading, writing, and like the child's thinking, we can just go on for hours. I think we have only 8 minutes remaining.
Okay,
So,
if there are no questions, then I would
Yeah.
like to announce the winners for the PD cell. Just give me a minute.
Ashwini, hello.
Yes,
Ashwini, so we need to share the link for the exit ticket. Every teacher will fill in the exit ticket.
exit ticket. You mean feedback?
No, I have shared the form with you, na? Should I paste the link? 1 minute.
Yeah, please, ma'am, because I hope I missed it.
Okay.
Yes, as they paste the link, I think, Ashwini, we need to get ready to announce the PD cell toppers for the 23, for the year 23. I'll
Yes.
begin with our youngest school, Lava Nagpur. And I'll begin with the youngest person there. Ritu Singh gets the third position for professional development. We have Pooja Nath taking away the second one. And the first one goes to my favorite, not favorite, sorry, Peenaz Masani was what I was about to say, but this is Peenaz Chinoy. Peenaz Masani is my favorite classical singer, so I said favorite. So Peenaz Chinoy takes the first one, second Pooja Nath, and 3 Ritu Singh. Congratulations to three girls. I hope you guys learn to stay on the top again. Ritu, you need to take the crown away from Peenaz in the next year. All right, we can move now.
Sure, sir.
Congratulations.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations.
The younger version of our DPS school, that is Nasik, where the third position goes to our questioner today, Prajakta Kulkarni. Big round of applause, Prajakta, for you. And then, of course, our favorite, we all love Bharti. So Bharti, you take the position number 2, and Suvarna Sable takes away the crown for Nashik. So again, Prajakta, a challenge for you, bete. Take away the crown from Suvarna, and Suvarna, hold it tightly. Let's see.
Congratulations.
Right. Now I get to my own girls. Archana, you take the third prize. You were also questioning today. That's for you, third one. Sunanda, another favorite of our school, and a favorite of students and the staff, and particularly my middle wing coordinator just loves Sunanda. So Sunanda, you take the second position, and the first one is the favorite of everybody across all 3 locations. And not only that, इतनी favorite है कि Google की भी वो favorite बन गई. वो है हमारी Smita Jain. So Smita, congratulations to you. You've done so much of work, not
Thank
just
you,
in the PD cell, but externally also. And I admire you. In fact, you're my icon for, if I had to be, taking credits and things like that, if I were in the competition, I think, Smita, even I would not be able to win and take away the crown. So, Smita, you need to retain the crown, baby, for the
Thank you,
next year
sir.
also.
We'll
All
do
right.
it.
Congratulations to all the 6 girls. It's sad that none from the other gender have made it. Boys, what are we doing?
So I would like to add here that Smita ma'am and Bharti from Nasik, Bharti ma'am, both are consecutive toppers from last 2 years.
Wow,
That's-
that's great. Congratulations.
बस तो हैट्रिक बन जाएगी अगले साल.
This is the hat-trick year, sir, 3rd year.
Oh, 3
You are
साल
the
से हो गया.
first list. Yes.
अच्छा, चलो. And now it's time, guys, for all of us to dethrone them now. 3 साल के बाद हम नहीं रख सकते उनको. We need to do something. Let's buck up.
Congratulations, everyone.
Chalo,
Yeah,
congratulations.
so is the form visible? Yes, I think I have started getting the responses.
Yeah, Aarti has raised her hand. Was it by an error, Aarti, or you have some question?
No, sir, that was error.
Okay, and then there was another girl, I think I missed out. Somebody had raised her hand. Maybe that was another error, I guess. I assume it's an error. All right, I think, Shilpa, with your permission, if there's nothing much to
Yes,
discuss
sir.
anymore, we might let them go 2 minutes ahead of the schedule. Class को हम 2 minute पहले बर्खास्त करते हैं आज.
Yeah, they need to complete the exit ticket.
हाँ, वो बना देंगे. वो हमारे
Yes.
बच्चे अच्छे हैं, वो होमवर्क करके ही आते हैं.
Yeah.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
girls.
you, thank you, sir.
Welcome, guys. Bye.
Your
Thank you,
inputs-
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your inputs, sir.
Thank you, Shilpa.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Teachers, I have shared the feedback form in the chat box. Please fill it. If you want, I'll paste it again. And I would like to hearty congratulations to all the toppers of DCEL. And I'm really happy. And if sir is there and ma'am is here, I would also like to announce, sir and ma'am, that we have all achieved our targets this year. No one has left behind. Everyone is beyond 60 credits.
Wow.
So
Time to
be
celebrate.
happy to share that. So thank you, teachers. Let's see 2024. Again, our sheet is blank and we have to put the credits in it.
Ashwini ma'am, and here we also appreciate you for keeping the sessions on time, always organizing different sessions and motivating everyone, giving calls personally to everyone to encourage them to complete their targets. So that is something great that you are doing. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
All credit goes to Ashwini, ma'am.
No,
Yes.
Yeah, big congratulations to you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining in. I hope
Thank you all. It was wonderful
Ashwini, ma'am.
talking to you all and sharing ideas.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very informative.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes,
Ashwini, ma'am. I
yeah.
will be sending a message on your WhatsApp. You can register there for the workshop to be conducted for teachers for Adobe.
Sure, ma'am.
So they will be taking the workshops. So I'm sending it on your WhatsApp. Please register there for the school.
Fine, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much, teachers, for joining in. Thank you, Shilpa ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I want the link.
Feedback form, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I got it, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.